Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for tuning in to my weekly guitar blog. It's January 27th, 2013, and this week we're going to discuss the top 4 methods of harmonic analysis. And this question was sent in by David. He's in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he wrote in with this email. I'm wondering why I keep seeing different types of chord analysis. Some of it is done with all uppercase Roman numerals. Other times I'll see it done where the minor chords are given as lowercase Roman numerals and the major chords are all uppercase. Yet other times I'll see that the analysis was done by using regular numbers instead of Roman numerals. This all has me really confused. Could you make a lesson clarifying all of this chord analysis stuff? Thanks a lot, from David in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, David. You know, a system of using some kind of numbered approach to analyze the movement of chord changes in a typical progression is what musicians call harmonic analysis. And the common issue that will often arise with musicians around the world who learn various types of harmonic analysis becomes one of simply which method of doing harmonic analysis that they've so happened to be taught during their own musical education, whatever that encompasses. In this video, I'll cover the top 4 methods that are generally used for analyzing chord progressions musically, hopefully dispelling some of the myths and the confusion surrounding this very important musical ability. Now, the first method of harmonic analysis that we're going to take a look at is generally called the classical method. Now, if you're new to harmonic analysis, the first thing that you should be well aware of is what we're doing with this system is we're taking a chord progression that would be established and we're turning it into something that is more universal. So in the top line here where you actually see your chord changes going down, you have a C major to an A minor, an F major to a G major. That's a diatonic chord progression built from the key of C major. That's our root. So in the harmonic analysis, you'll see here our one chord is designating home or the root of the progression, and then the remaining harmonic analysis done as Roman numerals here is indicating the stepwise position of the chords that follow suit. So an A minor chord is the 6th chord found inside the key of C major. The F chord is the 4th. The G major is the 5th chord of the key of C major. Now, in the classical method of harmonic analysis, what happens basically is your major chords get designated as uppercase Roman numerals, as you see here. Lowercase Roman numerals, such as the 6th chord you can see designating the A minor, are designating either minor chords or potentially diminished chords. So something that's on the minor side of the quality equation would be designated with lowercase Roman numerals in the classical method. Chords which are major would be designated by way of uppercase Roman numerals. So that's, in a nutshell, the classical method of harmonic analysis. It's very popular. It's probably the first type that I was ever exposed to as a music theory student. But we're going to move next to another type of harmonic analysis method, which is called contemporary. So we're going to take the same chord progression and we're going to move to a contemporary method right away. Let's do that next. All right, now we're into the same chord progression. This time, however, the harmonic analysis is being done using the contemporary method, and you'll probably notice it looks almost the same, except that's right, the minor chord is not designated with lowercase Roman numerals. Now, the contemporary method would be something that generally a slightly more advanced musician would start utilizing because your knowledge of harmony at the point of using the contemporary method would be something a little bit higher level. So you would understand that chords like the 6th chord, or perhaps a 2 chord of a key center of major, or a 3 chord in a major key center, would automatically be minor as a quality anyway. So why designate it differently? Now, when I went to Musicians Institute in California after leaving my local conservatory music, which was very classical in their approach, I noticed that one of the first things when we were doing harmonic analysis when I went to Musicians Institute is we were using contemporary. And it kind of makes sense. You know, you're going to a modern musical institute where everybody has quite a bit of training before they enter, more or less, and the knowledge base is already there for basics about harmony and theory and how a key signature would function harmonically. So therefore it's sort of like a shorthand method. So that's the approach there of contemporary, is we essentially do not label those diminished or those minor quality chords as lower case Roman numerals. So now this brings us up to another method of thought, though. What if the chord progressions become more complex? So let's move on next to another type of harmonic analysis method known as the jazz method. Now, as you can see here, the jazz method of harmonic analysis, using, by the way, the exact same set of chord changes, the jazz method is a little bit more detailed, and it's almost as if we're going a little bit more on the spot. You can also see right off the hop here that the sixth chord is not labeled as lowercase Roman numeral as we had seen in the classical method. It's still uppercase, but again, as we move through the analysis of this C major, A minor, F major, G major chord progression, the uppercase Roman numerals are all used. However, next to the chord, we're given its specific quality. So it's much more of an on-the-spot analysis. Now, at first glance, you might kind of wonder, well, gee whiz, what's the point of this? Let me change the progression up a little bit into something that would be a little bit more on the jazzy side, at least using slightly jazz-oriented harmony. And we're going to go and see the value of this right away. So let's go and change the progression up to where now in this new progression we have a couple of different things happening here. We have off of the A chord and the F chord, we have a process that's very popular in jazz music. It's called modal interchange occur. And then we've also gone ahead on this final chord here, the 5 chord, and we've converted its quality from being a major chord, and we've stepped it up a notch and made it into the dominant 7th quality of the key center. So as you go and take the 5th chord of any major key center and you bring it up to the quality of 7th chord, we wind up with the dominant 7th on that 5th step. Now, all that stuff aside, when you analyze things from this perspective now, you can see here that there's more value in using this jazz method because we specifically are able to identify what's going on with the stepwise motion that maybe has been altered with the chord, as well as the quality that's probably been altered as well. So now off of the first chord here, the C major, it's remained the same. It's still just a major 1 chord, C major triad in this case. Now what's happened with that 6th chord is it's dropped down by way of a half step, and we've lost the quality of minor. So it's dropped down a half step and it's changed quality over to major. So now that is actually a flat 6 major chord, and we have that clearly identified using the jazz method. Then when we move over to the 4 chord, which used to be F major, it is the standard quality. When you're in a C major key center, the 4th chord is a F major. However, with the modal interchange system being placed into effect, now we have a 4 chord that's minor, and we're able to clearly and specifically identify that using the jazz method of harmonic analysis. The final part here that happened was our 5 chord being stretched out a little bit further into 7th chord harmony and being made into a dominant 7th. That can again be clearly identified by way of labeling that chord as a 5-7. So now to identify the new chord progression of a C major to A flat major to F minor to G dominant 7th, we can do that with jazz analysis by way of identifying it as a 1 major, moving to a flat 6 major, moving to a 4 minor, finally moving to a 5-7 chord. So you can see the flexibility in being able to have very specific identification made using this jazz method. But this isn't the end of it. There's actually one more method yet I would like to discuss, and that's going to be the Nashville method. If you're unfamiliar with the Nashville method of notation, you can see here I still have the same chord progression as C major, A minor, F major, G major that I had from the original examples. But when we move to this Nashville style of notation, it's replacing the harmonic analysis concept using Roman numerals with just using plain old numbers. So now you can see here we have the 1, 6, 4, and 5. Now, if the chord is to be major, then we leave that number alone, as you can see here with the 1, 4, 5 clearly identified as such. However, if the chord is going to be minor or dominant seventh, we would identify it as to what it is appearing as. In this case, we have a minor off of that sixth step, that A minor. So we're labeling our harmonic analysis using the Nashville method as the number 6 with a little MI next to it, of course, designating minor. If we ever had any situations like we had seen with the second jazz method analysis that we were looking at that included some of the modal interchange aspects, we can clearly identify modal interchange as well by just specifically, identifying that particular either half-step motion or maybe chord quality change that would occur. If the chord became dominant seventh, like we had seen with that other example, we could just label that at the end of this progression here, 5, 7, just like so. And it's just that easy. It's a very straightforward method, very similar in a lot of respects to the jazz method, but of course, again, not using, in this case, the Roman numeral analysis. This time around, just using the straight-ahead numeric system. Well, in general, any decent musician can very likely get by working in their own musical community for an entire career, knowing only one or two methods of doing harmonic analysis. And since so many of the exact same principles hold true between the different methods, a musician truly only needs to comprehend one of them to be competent at a level in order to quickly and easily interpret any of the other methods, literally within minutes. So as long as every musician understands their general working knowledge of things like key signatures, diatonic harmony, and some of the most basic elements of chromatic harmony, any of the methods I've covered here will work just fine for doing a clear analysis of pretty much any piece of music that would cross the ledge of your music stand at a rehearsal recording session or during a live show. All the methods work. Just be clear with your bandmates so they fully understand the method that you decide to use. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.